I don't have a ton of time left today, but I do want to get some more work done on this tractor. And the next thing that I'm looking at here is the rear end. I want to take this whole side of the housing off, but in order to do that, I need to stabilize it a little bit better, because when I take this part of the rear end off, I lose my stand, and I'm only sitting on some blocks here in the front. I'm just thinking that's going to be really tippy, even if I put a jack stand under the center there. So I think today I want to try to make a better stand here for the front, get these blocks out of here, get something that's a little bit wider that actually bolts to the tractor so that it can't fall over. And once I'm satisfied with how stable it is, then we can go ahead and try to pull that rear axle housing off. But as I say it out loud, that sounds like it will take a long time. So I'm not sure that we're gonna get all that done today. Still gotta run back to the ranch and check on things over there. So there's a lot of things that I gotta cram into this afternoon, and we'll just see how far we can get. That's what's going on today on Farmer Tyler Ranch. Before I get started on any of that though, I gotta get something cleaned up and primered today. And today I think that's gonna be the governor housing here. So if I'm looking at the governor with the arm on the right, the top left is short, bottom left, short, bottom right, short, top right is long. If you look really closely, you might notice that this governor housing has some oil on it. And there's actually 2 seals on this thing in addition to the gasket where it mates up to the camshaft gear cover. There's a seal right here where the crankshaft comes out of this housing, and there's another seal where this little arm comes into the housing. So I need to replace both of those seals. I think we'll go ahead and take them out now, get this all cleaned up, and when the new seals get here, it'll be ready to go back together. There it is. All the seals are out now, so this thing is filthy. I'm gonna take it outside and try to get all the loose dirt off first, and then we'll clean it up nice with the brush. Well, everything was going along just fine, and we ran into a little bit of a snag. This piece is cracked, and it's right where the seal fits into the front here. I think probably what happened is somebody probably tried to pry the seal out the wrong way and crack the housing. I don't think that it was me, because I know that I tried to press it in the first time and it worked. So I don't think that I could have cracked it, because I would have been pressing the wrong way. But anyway, I suspect this would be a very difficult part for me to locate, so I'm gonna try to fix it with some JB Weld. Well, maybe. We'll get ready for a huge surprise, but with disassembling the linkage, pulling the seals out, doing the repair on this little piece here, this ended up taking a lot longer than I was planning on. Not to mention the fact that piece was really hard to clean. There's so many nooks and crannies. With all that being said, I gotta put a pin in this for now. It's time to run down to the ranch and do evening chores, and there's something down there that I want to talk to you guys about as well. Before we go, let's see if there are some marshmallows in here. Do you know where they would be?
Yeah.
If we can't find marshmallows, maybe we'll try Cheetos.
Yeah.
We'll try Cheetos.
Yeah.
What do you think we'll eat those?
The possums and skunks.
Both of them? All right, perfect. That's what we need. This is called a live trap, and we catch something in here, it won't hurt it. We can just take him somewhere else. So the way that it works is first, we have to open the door.
What do we do?
We open the door. Okay, so we set it like that. Now you see the plate there? When he steps on it, it's gonna make the door shut. When he steps on the plate, the door shuts. Now he's trapped. So let's go put it in the barn.
Okay. I'll come with you in the barn.
Okay.
You have to put the Cheetos there.
So let's get a nice little spot here for him. We'll put a lot in the front here.
Then not too much.
A little bit in the back too to get him to want to come in here.
There we go. Now leave it out.
Now we gotta set it.
Can I eat one Cheeto?
No. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting to see what the trail cam is going to find here in the barn so we can determine what's tunneling under this concrete slab, but unfortunately I think I messed my trail camera up. I had it out in the back pasture trying to get some wildlife shots, and it rained on it a few times, and although the camera claims to be waterproof, it got water in the lens that was causing it to fog up, and the shots weren't that great. I'll throw some of them in right here because I would have got some cool stuff, but anyway. So I took the camera apart and I tried to dry it out with my heat gun, and what I ended up doing was melting some of the lens covers that go over the sensor. So long story short, the trail cam just doesn't seem to be working properly anymore. Once something triggers it, it just continuously films and films and films until the batteries die. So instead of trying to do this with a camera, I think I'm just gonna put a trap out. We're gonna use Cheetos. I wanted to try marshmallows, but we're using Cheetos. And rather than see what we can catch on camera, we're gonna see what we can catch in the trap. Saying hi to the cows?
How about
Callie was. It's the next day now. Me and Callie just pulled into the ranch here this morning to feed cows, and I'm kind of excited to go check that trap. So, should we go see if we got anything? Come on, let's go. Well, the door is shut. Callie. I don't know what happened here. The trap has been set off, but obviously there's nothing in here, and I think what happened, as I'm looking at it, you can tell something was sort of digging at the sides of the trap trying to get the Cheetos, and I'm wondering if they bumped the trip lever, which made the door close, and that's how it got set off, and that's why we don't have anything inside the trap. Probably what I should do is lock the door open so that whatever it is can go in there, eat, and start to feel safe about it, and then they won't be trying to dig under the trap. And that should result in a catch. The good news here is that something likes our bait. They just were smart enough to not actually go in the trap. So I've got the door hooked open now. It cannot close. Whatever it was can go in there and hopefully get comfortable with it. And once we see that all those Cheetos are eaten up, then we can go ahead and set it for real and probably catch something. Boy, you guys pretty well got this cleaned up. I'll go get you a couple more bales. Let's go see if we can accomplish today what I set out to accomplish yesterday. Here we go again. Okay, I think the most pressing thing is making a new stand for the front of this, so let's do that first. So looking down on the bottom here, I found these 2 bolts, and I've also noticed there's been a bunch of welding that's happened on the bottom of this thing, which is not really what you want to see, but I guess it's been holding all these years, so it'll still be fine. But I think I'll use these to bolt a cross piece across here. The nice thing about that is it's right behind the engine, so if during this project or if sometime in the future I want to pull the engine off of the tractor, I'll have a stand all ready to go. And yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. So let's see what I've got down here in my scrap pile that will work. Got this fairly heavy piece of 4-inch channel. I think this will be stout enough to hold that tractor up. It might bow a little bit, but honestly, it's not a huge deal if it does. As long as it doesn't fold in half, I'm happy. And then I've got a bunch of these stubs from the oil pipe. This is left over from the bullpen project. These ought to make some pretty heavy-duty legs, so pretty simple. That'll work. The most critical measurement here is how far apart these bolts are. And they appear to be an oddball measurement, of course. We'll try 3 3/4, see how close we are. Maybe I better test the stand before I take those blocks out. That might be smart. Pretty solid. All right, I am liking this a lot better. It's a lot more stable. The tractor is actually a little bit higher now, which is nice. And I just trust this a lot more. Let's see if we can't figure out why this is so loose. This should not move at all. And this nut is only hand tight, which this is supposed to be torqued to, I think, 450 foot-pounds. And if you don't know how much that is, it's hard to explain, but it's a lot. It's like 4-foot cheater bar territory. It's the biggest socket I have, so, and yes, it does fit. All right, good thing. Because if it didn't, then we'd have to get creative. So far, everything looks all right. So what I'm noticing is, well, what I thought was the problem is the splines inside the hub here are worn down to where this is almost smooth on this end, but then I'm noticing that the splines on the axle shaft are tapered as well, and I'm not really sure if it's supposed to be that way. I think it almost has to be, because one couldn't wear that, they both couldn't wear that way at the same time. So if one was worn like beyond use, this wouldn't fit together so good. So I don't think that's my issue. And that would explain why this has to be so tight, because it's on a taper and that's what holds it all together. It's not like pushing up against something. So I think this is okay. I hope. So right or wrong, I'm gonna try to take this brake assembly off all as one piece. Obviously the shoes would come attached from this, they call it a spider or a star or whatever. This would all come apart, but the brake shoes have a surprising amount of material on them. I'm guessing Grandpa must have replaced these once before. And I don't really see any need to take this apart if it will all come out as one, which I think that it will. So that's what we're gonna try. And I am just shocked at how loose all this stuff is. I haven't had one bolt fight me yet. I'm sure one will eventually. Look at that. Coming right off. So the reason that I ended up using a puller on this is due to the fact that there wasn't really anything to tap on the back, and this is just a lot more controlled and probably better way to do it, really. It just acts like it's ready to just fall off. There we go. Oh, come on, you. Those studs just get hung up. There we go. Success. Something happened. I thought that was attached to something. Guess it wasn't. So I think this axle will just pull out of here now. And I mean, this bearing doesn't seem terrible, but probably should replace it. Yeah, just like that. Ooh, nice and milky. Just kind of evaluating everything as it comes apart. I think the splines on the end of the axle shaft seem fine. Splines on the outside seem all right. This bearing is not in pieces, but it is a little loose. I mean, I feel like this bearing will probably last another 30 years, but I don't know. It's like, I'm in here now, maybe I should just replace it while I'm here. The last thing to really look at closely, I think, is the threads on this axle where that nut was so loose. I gotta figure out why that nut was so loose, because so far nothing is obvious as to what would have caused that, other than maybe whoever took it apart last just didn't tighten it enough. I don't know. But I'll have to come in here with the wire brush and really clean those up to get a good look at them, and the nut as well, because that, I mean, wouldn't it be nice if that's all it was, right? So anyway, we're moving right along. I pretty much am to the point where I just need to get this housing off of here. So let me get another stand under the center of the differential, and we'll see if we can't get this thing loose. Stand is out of the way, and I need to clean this off. Give myself a place to sit, and it just accumulates a bunch of... All the nuts on this axle housing are exceptionally loose, and I'm actually even missing one at the bottom. And hopefully that explains why this is leaking so bad on this side. I was really concerned that something might be cracked down here. Of course, if it was, we could probably fix that too. But if it's just a matter of a new gasket and torquing these nuts down to the proper spec, that would be a lot easier. All right, so before I get the last two bolts out, I want to see if I can kind of move this a little. Okay, we're a little bit loose. There we go. Okay, it's not that heavy. I didn't really know how heavy it was, but I feel pretty safe about lifting it. There we go. Ugh, that's gross. For those that don't know, that's what oil looks like when it gets water in it. Well, every time I think I've gone as far as I'm going to go with the disassembly of this tractor, I end up going a little bit further. One thing that I did want to point out though is I was doing a little bit of cleaning off camera and I found a serial number on the rear end of this tractor, and it kind of made me chuckle because look at what it is. So what that means is that the rear end of the tractor came from an 8N, and what that means is that every major component of this tractor is actually from a different tractor. The rear end is from an 8N, the transmission is from an NAA, and then this engine is from a later 1000 series Ford. I assume that it's probably off of a 2000 because the 134 was pretty common in those. But they put these engines in a lot of things, so it really could be from anything. The serial number on the transmission, I'm not sure that it is actually from a Jubilee, but if you take a look at it, you can see it has NAA as the beginning, which would tell you it's from an NAA. And stranger still about the rear end is you can see that it was painted blue. And as I have been wire brushing the housing, I can see that underneath that blue paint is red paint, which would have been factory on an 8N. So this rear end was red. Then somebody painted it blue, and then somebody painted it red again. And during all those paint jobs, they never really took all of the old paint off. So like right here, this is like factory Ford red, I think. You can see the blue is on top of that. So we've got red, blue, and red again. So this confirms a few of my suspicions, and it explains a few things as well. For instance, this linkage piece for the rear brake is obviously cut and welded together. So somebody modified this. And I always wondered why that would be. That's such an odd thing to break, or, you know, to have to cut and weld. It just didn't make sense. But as I recall, the NAA and the 8N, one of their main differences is the 8N is like 3 inches shorter, 4 inches shorter, something like that. So I'm not sure where those inches come from, but it's reasonable to think, or reasonable to assume, that the linkage for the brake pedal that mounts up here on the transmission and goes back to the rear end, that length obviously is now different. But I think that's as far as I'm gonna get with this thing today. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.